And a second for closing the nomination. And roll call for president with the nominee being Director Cicada.
Director Underhill,
Yes.
Director Ratterman,
Yes.
Director Thomas,
Yes.
Director Cicada,
Yes.
President Davidson.
Yes.
And I failed to brief President Cicada on doing the nomination for the vice president, so I could just do it for you if you would like.
Please do.
Do we have any nominations for board vice president?
I would like to nominate Scott Ratterman.
I'll second that.
And a motion and a second to close the nomination, unless there are any other nominations.
I make a motion that we close the nomination.
Second.
And roll call for Vice President Ratterman.
Director Underhill,
Yes.
Director Ratterman,
Yes.
Director Davidson,
Yes.
Director Thomas,
Yes.
President Cicada.
Yes.
You did that well. Threw me off the bus just like that. Yeah. Gosh. Didn't miss a beat.
for the farewell or the going.
So
It might be closer than you think.
Those are the officers.
that was a very close
The
election.
board.
Yes, it was.
Better get that gavel down.
I think we need to do a recount.
Dun, 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 dun.
Any motions for a recount?
Thank you, thank you.
Big day.
And there's a right time and a wrong time to use this, so I'll learn that at some point.
Actually, you're the president, so it's always the right time.
Okay,
Just to decide.
Anytime you want.
here we go, everybody.
There is a time limit though.
Congratulations to the new officers. Thank you, former President Davidson, for your
Thank
service.
Was a troubling time.
We didn't set any records on time during that tenure.
And President Cicada, we're ready to continue with the
All right.
agenda.
Well, I look for any help and, let me know when I'm doing something wrong, please. All right, so let's move on to item number 4, the consent agenda. The following items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. Items will be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member may request that any item be removed for later discussion.
I want to remove 4C.
Okay,
I'll move for acceptance of 4A, 4B, 4D, and 4E.
Second.
Okay, I just want to talk about a minor little.
Let's vote on that.
Oh,
If there's
okay.
any public
and am
comment,
I supposed to ask them to vote on that when we have the
you
motion?
could ask for public comment on that motion first and then ask for a vote.
See, it's just getting.
There you go.
Do we have any public comment on the consent agenda? Any online? Looking good? Okay, can we have the vote? Actually, hang on, do we need one? We're all here. I don't think we do, right?
Say all those in favor.
All those in favor
Aye.
and opposed? Seeing none? All right, item 4C.
Okay.
Discussion.
There was a little problem that I detected that I quickly called Rebecca on, and she wasn't aware of what the problem was. On every page of the consent of the disbursements, we had 3 transactions that were repeated.
And were those totals included in the report? I think we decided.
Okay, that was what she assured me, that was not
Right.
included.
And it's probably just a formatting error. We talked about maybe just it was on freeze and sometimes it'll carry forward.
Okay. But my concern is, what kind of a quality check are we having?
Well, we are having some turnover in the financing department, or not turnover, but
So I can jump in on this. The report coming from the finance department was actually correct. the spreadsheet did not have repetitive items on it, which is why the total is right. When I printed the document, somehow those 3 items repeated on every page. So I'm not sure what that was. And that's just human error on my part.
Well, you know, and
So
And I,
understandable, but as I say, I'd like to talk
Well, I
about some
think-
kind of quality check.
well, when it goes from Patty, I'm sure the finance department, they've looked at it. There's a human/formatting error, and then it's up to the rest of us who look at it to bring these corrections to the board and oversight. I mean, unless anybody thinks there should be some other form of quality control, but I think, 5 of us more looking at it would solve it.
I'll move for acceptance of 4C.
Second.
Second.
Any public comment on item 4C? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none? Moving on to new business, item number 5A. Introduction of new district employees, Senior Civil Engineer John Griffin and Accountant 2 Catherine Dyer. All right, this is Damon. Hi,
Good
Damon.
afternoon, President Cicada and directors. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you our new senior engineer, John Griffin. John comes to us from the city of Elk Grove. He has extensive experience working with public utilities. John and I worked together umpteen years ago at AWA. I was an operator and he was an engineer. You were responsible for development. So without further ado, here's John.
Hi, John.
Welcome.
Welcome.
President, Vice President, congratulations. Thank you, board members. Pleased
I
to be
used to be president. It was just like.
And I'm sure you will be again from time.
45 or 46?
I think that the club at Mar-a-Lago for those guys.
Summit didn't go away.
Anyhow, welcome. Do you have any
Thank you.
questions for us? Do we have any questions for him?
Just want to say thank you. Excited for the opportunity, Damon's already given me lots of stuff to do. So
Are you going to be living locally or are you commuting?
I live in Galt, so I commute. It's not too far.
So you were in charge of development. I mean, you were like you would handle the things like our tentative maps or any that stuff related?
Yes, so when I worked at AWA, one of the areas that I oversaw was coordination with the 5 other land use agencies, working with them on the development applications they had, working with applicants on issuing conditional will serve letters, and just ensuring that, the improvements they built were per district standards.
Oh, great.
And
Welcome.
then before that, I've, worked, I have about 20 years of experience overall, primarily with public agencies and consultants, all on water, wastewater. Elk Grove, the only agency I worked for that I didn't have water, wastewater, didn't oversee water, wastewater projects. So part of my interest is coming back to a smaller agency, more of a rural agency. Elk Grove was good experience. Helped, me get some experience understanding more of the Caltrans process, more of the roadway process, but back to what I enjoy, which is water and wastewater.
All right, great.
Are you allowed to take your mask off so we know what you look like?
Yes.
There he is.
Hey,
I have a couple questions.
Yes.
How long have you been, well, okay, since you worked with Damon, you probably knew about Calaveras County and heard about our reputation and.
What was that reputation?
Precede us?
Yeah.
How do I answer that diplomatically?
You don't.
Damon did a very good job explaining, this is what the culture has been and this is how things are transitioning. And so talked to Damon, talked to a few other friends who are consultants who work for the district and felt very comfortable in knowing that, yes, some of the things that heard over up 10 years ago, those have been addressed.
Very nice.
And so you read about the job opening and applied and
Yes.
got the job. Oh,
Yep.
wonderful.
Well, we're glad you're here.
Thank you. I am too.
Welcome.
Thank you.
so despite the work, the fact that you worked with Damon before, you decided to take another chance? Or?
Yeah, we were able to overcome that in the process.
Well,
Damon assured me he'd be much nicer this time.
Well, I am, for one, I'm delighted to see you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
And Catherine, or Jessica's going to do that.
Yeah, so our next new employee is Catherine Steyer. She's our new accountant and will be filling in the big shoes of Patty once she leaves at the end of this month. We're really excited to have Catherine. She's just jumped right in. She received a BA in English from UC San Diego. She also minored in editing and publishing. She also has 2 distinguished certifications. One is a CBO, which is the Chief Business Official, as well as a PMP, which is a Project Management Professional. And I've gone through that process too, and it's definitely a distinguished certification. She was most recently the CBO for Somerville Union High School District, and she actually worked for CCWD as a temp way back in 2004 as a payroll clerk. So she's actually coming back. So with all the new changes we're currently going through right now in admin, and then also the future changes with our finance software, we're really excited to have someone with her capabilities filling in those shoes from Patty. So
Did she run for governor also?
Yeah.
All right, welcome.
My mask off. Good morning. Good afternoon.
Well, welcome.
Thank you. No
We're
question.
glad you're here.
Tell us something about yourself that Jessica didn't say.
Oh, I will tell you, my UC San Diego is an accounting certificate. My BA is from Chico State, many years ago. I live here locally in, San Andreas. I have been, living in San Andreas for many years. So
Oh, so
I'm
you
really
were
excited to
commuting
be here.
somewhere else, and that's great. Now you can stay.
Exactly,
Uh-huh.
exactly.
That's always
So
nice.
very excited to be here.
Well, welcome.
We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming back.
This is Mike.
All right, any public comment on item 5A? Seeing none. Moving on to 5B, discussion action regarding purchase of UV disinfection equipment for the Forest Meadows wastewater treatment facility. Charles. Hi, Charles.
Hi, good afternoon, Board of Directors. So yeah, this item, so this is for the Forest Meadows wastewater treatment facility. It's the UV light disinfection equipment. We currently have a system there that was installed in 1999. It does the same thing, but it's just becoming obsolete and have a lot of repair issues and operational issues. Our electricians and operations staff have done, this probably should have been replaced 5 years ago, but they've kept this thing running. So it's on its last legs and desperately needs to be replaced. So Jesse and Damon went out and sought proposals from various vendors of this UV type of equipment. In the board agenda item, I presented the costs there and the different types of systems. So we evaluated those systems. We do have similar systems in La Quintana and Copper Cove and at Douglas Valsito. Our operators are very familiar with them. They find that the open channel type of UV system is easier for them to operate and maintain. So that's what we elected to proceed with on this project. And looking at so that was either a Trojan system like we have out in Copper Cove and La Quintana, and the Wetico system is actually what we're replacing at Forest Meadows, so that same vendor is still manufacturing equipment. So we're chose to select the Wetico system to recommend it for the purchase. This is an equipment purchase, so we're not necessarily required to go with the lowest price. So
I'll move for acceptance.
Second.
Any discussion, board?
I would just like to ask one question. You talked about the failure of our old systems and, over the course of the years, did we suffer any penalty from the failure of that?
I think the only penalty, it obviously is concerning to our operators because they do have to report to the state. So if they can't get the right data, it is definitely a concern. I think it just is a testament to how hard operators work to keep those systems running and in compliance, so, but at this point, that's becoming very challenging for them. They're out there weekly, if not daily, tinkering with this equipment. And so this is actually going to be a time saver for them. So.
Because, and I've heard over the course of years, how they could, fix it.
It did not.
Right, yeah. But technology, I mean, this was from 1999, so things have changed quite a bit since then.
You got it, Bertha? Did this item go to the engineering committee for review at all?
I don't think it did.
Does it normally go to the engineering committee so they can?
It may have, this has been on the docket for quite a while, so I would say approximately a year ago, we discussed replacing this unit, and we actually received approval from the state regulator to replace the system that is failing with a direct replacement. However, what's taken the most time in speccing out this replacement unit is the fact that if we were to replace like for like, we wouldn't meet the disinfection requirements for to be able to put treated effluent on the golf course. So we had to do a lot of back and forth with the state and with these 3 different vendors who we all use equipment from at different areas throughout the district. To ensure that we had the right one spec'd. So it's been like, have a conversation about it, perhaps even a year ago, do all this background work, because if you recall, we allocated money in the last budget to do this project. So it was discussed in the CIP, there's 300,000 allocated to replace the UV system at Forest Meadows.
Well, I'm just wondering if it shouldn't have come back to the engineering committee.
They wanted to keep it secret.
Yeah.
Well, just in case there's more information, because I would rely on the engineering committee for some of this type of stuff, but, okay.
Well, I can ask the questions that would have asked there.
Yeah.
Charles, there's a couple of schematics here, a plan view and a sectional view. Will we be able to take advantage of the open trough that we have now?
That's another thing I wanted to mention. And Damon, you also touched on a few items that I forgot to mention. But so we're gonna have, unfortunately, these are so, they have to validate all these systems, so channel geometry is very important. So unfortunately, we can't use the existing channel. We have to build a new channel that has very specific dimensions. So that's part of the additional cost and effort is going to be having our construction crew go out there, demolish the old stainless steel channel, build a new concrete channel, and install it.
So you answered my question. It's currently a stainless steel channel. So, okay. And I see all the components listed from the vendor, but maybe I didn't get it closely enough, but I'm just imagining that there will be controlled panels, an extensive electrical company electrical installation.
Yeah, they kind of show it just kind of floating off the side here, but that'll be probably inside the building where there's an existing control panel that'll be in there.
But more specifically, will the vendor supply that control panel for their equipment?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, so that's included in the price that they've.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So the rest of the 300K that's allocated will go toward material for the construction crew to pour the open concrete channel, remove the existing steel, and then any improvements to the building that might need to take place as well.
Okay, I'm assuming that that concrete channel will be under weather protection.
That's part of the effort, right? But currently it's not. So part of the request from the operations staff to get a cover over this thing. So deal with all snow and whatnot, doing our work. And if there's money left over, one of the thoughts is this is all in a base rock road in the low spot behind the treatment facility. So we would also look to improve the road access to it if we can.
Okay. All right, well, I think we have a motion in a second. Right?
I had Bertha.
Question, have we dealt with this company before?
Yes, so they're the manufacturer of the infrastructure, and so there's been a lot of back and forth, and we actually work with all three of these companies,
Oh,
but this is one of the easier units to work with.
Scott, you have anything?
I'm good, thanks.
Okay, do we have any public comment? Okay, we have a first and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? And seeing that passes.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Charles. All right, moving on to item 6, reports. 6A, report on the November 2021 operations and engineering departments. Damon.
Good afternoon again. So this past month, there's been a heck of a lot of work associated with the AMI project. A fair amount of work coordinating. It's a sewer line relocation as part of the West Point Woodleyville project, the consolidation of the waste facilities. There was a lot of discussion, and there was an on-site meeting with CHIPS and with the consulting engineering firm called NextGen and with district staff to look at putting a sewer line that was originally designed to go through the woods in a base rock road, and that's going to result in a few more environmental review boxes that need to be ticked, but I think it's the best course of action. Saves the project money over time. So there was a lot of work associated with that. And as also, we pulled the trigger on the filter, so we can anticipate filter for the redundant filter project in West Point arriving hopefully in the middle of the summer. The things being what they are, it's probably going to be towards the end of summer, early fall. As always, I know Director Davidson is excited to understand that we've had quite a few service line repairs and replacements in the Rancho service area. Are you able to pull that one up? Got it. Okay.
We have our printout.
Oh, you guys have a printout? Okay, perfect. Awesome. So this first one, if you guys look at the very first page of the presentation, you can see that it's 20 feet of service lateral replaced on Dunn Road. Just wanted to highlight again, rocks, big old giant rocks on service lines.
What a shock, holes and leaks.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's another one, you can see the gas main, we're going right under the gas main in that next one. And then the next slide deck, if you could take a look, I just want you to see the kind of the work effort that our field staff go through to restore the roadway to existing, right? So you've got a cold patch trench and you have staff spraying restoring the unbroken center line. Yeah.
You can't even tell you were there.
Yeah. And so then moving on to the next slide deck, this is a great one. If you look at the image on your left, you can kind of see a crew member down in that hole. So, you know,
There probably shouldn't be printing this.
I was gonna say,
he has PPE on. When he stands up, he's good to go. Yeah. Oh, okay, perfect. Oh, gotcha.
That looks like Mike. Is that Mike?
Oh, there we go. Oh, there's my bad. Sorry. Let's see if this works here. Maybe if you did the slide 3. So then in that next image, you can see the service line that's being replaced has 3 full circle clamps on it. And then you can see the new one that's crimped on it. Oh, there we go. Good. Awesome. Perfect. Take a little time here. So bear with me. I'm just going to try to advance this and then I'll talk about the slide deck off this next group here. So then the next one you can see, if you guys look at, it says service line replacement part Dixon. You can see field crew. Oh, there it is. Perfect. Pulling that new service line. So they're getting connected to the main on the street, pulling it in over towards the meter. This is continual work effort, and you guys know that as we move forward with that underground crew, it's going to be an extensive flow and go. This was a after hours repair on a flared connection for a service line at a water main off Baldwin. So this one, I think it was about midnight. I think this one kicked off. Staff was on it and made the repair very quickly. The next slide. Let me get there. This is, oh, here, let me go back on my, apologies. So this is, we took a tour of the slurry line, water line alignment. And so in 2019, field staff installed a pressure reducing valve on the water line that connects to the concrete slurry line. And this is that image right here on your,
Yeah.
on your slide. And I just wanted to give you a picture of this, just to.
What road is that? That's.
This is on, off of Skunk Ranch, and I believe it's called, I want to say.
Way up there, isn't it?
Mustang?
It might just be a private drive.
No.
And at that point.
Yeah,
Things on the other side of Skunk Ranch.
okay, so that's Hang Tree.
Big Mount.
There's
Well,
Hang
the
Tree, I think.
PRV is on the other side from where you, yeah, going up towards the ditch.
Yeah.
So, and the reason I want to bring this up is, you know, PG&E had a crew out there and they were putting in guy wires for telephone poles and they hit the water line. And had that PRV not been able to shut everything down, it would have been quite an adventure.
What happened since the
This
tour?
was before.
Oh, okay.
So is this the conversation of, we need to make sure all field staff in the area know where this PRV is and how it operates, and so.
Is there some reimbursement from PG&E for our work on that?
They pay for everything.
Oh, good.
They covered the whole repair and, you know, made sure we wanted all high pressure parts, and so, yeah, it was no issue.
Okay, good.
It took them about a week and a half to find us, so that really helped us then push all of the geolocate the whole line and push it all into USA. So from here on out, everybody knows where that is.
Okay.
You know, I was just thinking that we used to hear about PRVs all the time. I mean, and this was pretty constant
Yeah,
and it's not an issue.
well, that's wonderful news for me right now because we have hundreds of everything. But I can tell you that the board approved $20,000 during last fiscal year's budget for PRV rebuild kits. And our field staff have been replacing those at quite a clip.
That was great for us to do, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's critical. They are critical. They make or break the system and they keep the system whole and they keep catastrophic failures from occurring. Just wanted to give you guys an example of this is a tale of two hydrants. Okay, well, let's revert to this. So you've got your hydrant on your left. It's flowing at, I would say, maybe 20 gallons a minute. That's a standpipe. These are representative of 99% of the hydrants in Sheep Ranch currently. And the one on the right is literally right below the water treatment facility. That's about 450 gallons a minute. So you can see the difference in flow and really it speaks to the importance of the master plan development. This is Kelly Gerkensmeyer, our senior distribution operator up on Evans Pass, flowing a hydrant with Nick Charles from Loomis and Consultants, who's working on the master plan. And so this is really an important document.
How long is the water supply using the picture on the right?
Oh, say roughly 100,000 gallons. So maybe a half hour. Yeah. And on the other, the 20, though, we could go all day. We could go for quite a while. We could put your burn pile out all day long.
Might take a while to put a burn pile out.
That might, you might.
Small campfire, maybe.
Yeah. So just wanted to bring to your attention the replacement project for the Redwood tank replacement project up on the pass. This is tank 8 in Camp Connell. The floor has been installed. So currently they have one ring up, 8-foot ring, and they're working on building the roof and frantically having conversations with our project manager about the upcoming snow and what the plan would be. So they may
No, that 4-letter word.
exactly. Right? They may
Within the week, we're gonna have.
Uh-huh.
So they're gonna proceed in earnest as
Yeah.
they
I
can.
was on the Bigfoot Circle this weekend. This is those,
Yeah, that is.
this is Bigfoot Circle?
No, this is
But that's Tank 8. That's.
north side of Highway 4.
No.
Okay.
North side of Highway 4. Is that SPI property or is it? Forest?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yep.
Jump in.
Very
So
cool.
we're not going to hear about Tank 8 anymore.
Knock on wood, we are not gonna hear about tank 8 anymore. Yes, I agree with you.
Where are the squirrels gonna live?
We had to do some
There's gonna be
environmental mitigation.
no opportunity for squirrels, woodpeckers, any other critters to go
Or
get.
fish,
Go
no
back.
fish.
The environmental mitigation requires us to keep a 5-gallon bucket full of water out there.
Okay.
This is a
Could you,
testament
Damon,
to,
could you go back to
Yeah.
that slide where you, it looks like that's the base or the floor of the new tank?
yes, that is.
Tell me what, it looks like that they're overlapping metal elements that are held together with like a machinist or a sheet metal pop rivet type of thing. Is that what I'm looking at?
From what I understand, and I haven't been up there, but it's like a gasket. And then they also use like a mastic almost. It's called Manus. And so they use the gasket and then where they bolt, it is basically shiplapped and gasketed and bolted.
Okay, those are both bolts tightened down. Anybody testing the tightness of those?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's this thing, yeah.
Don't look at me that way. We had a big problem when bolts weren't.
Yeah, right. That's true. Yeah, those things are brought to dead flat. Every single one. I think our project manager had a number.
There's, I want to say 13 to 1,500 volts just in the floor.
I can see that. Yeah, it's amazing.
And a torque wrench needs to be used or not?
No, they just push those flat all the way dead stop as far as they can go. Yeah. Just bury that thing every single time. Yeah.
Well, these fellas sure know the questions to ask, don't they?
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It looks like a big frisbee. So.
Yeah. So I thought you all really appreciate our field crew ingenuity. This is the Jenny Lynn distribution crew out in the field working with the older back on. And the radiator hose springs a leak and they throw a full circle repair clamp on it and get it back to the mechanic. Back in business.
Nice.
And it allows the mechanics to go ahead and fix it the way it should be fixed, but hey, they're great.
Genius.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And finally, I think I have a picture of the folks using the Manus. Let's see. There, maybe I went too far.
They're
There we go. Yeah, they're about to toss that tube of Manus bond to me right there in that picture, although that was,
Did that guy wipe his feet before walking on the floor of our brand new tank?
yeah. Stepped in a little crane.
I have one serious question. What's going on next door?
So as of right
I
now,
literally expected that building to be done. I haven't been here in a few weeks. I literally thought it would be done.
they spent a lot of time on that slab.
Doing what?
They were running that vibroplate for quite a long time. It was like they were polishing, they have another coat to put on it also. Yeah.
You mean before the
paving.
slab went down, just on the site prep before the slab, they spent a lot of extra time on that.
Oh, just on the.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then also,
ground.
Yeah. I mean, they're spending a lot of time on that project. I mean,
Yeah.
pretty happy with what we have so far.
the
Yeah.
paving just went in Monday, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
So they're just moving all the pieces of the building today.
They're probably just waiting, probably doing other, dirty projects that they might lose if it rains and saving this one.
Could be. Well, I don't know, the contractor, the owner of the company's been here every day. He's out there with his guys every day.
Is there a time that they have to have it completed by?
No, I don't know what their proposed timeframe was. We'll have to ask Kevin. But we don't have a hard stop in terms of, in the budget year, but we don't have a hard stop in terms of project deadline.
We should start seeing the building going up.
Oh, yeah.
soon.
Because I thought we had heard December.
But shouldn't we want some kind of a, when it's going to be completed by date prior to issuing it?
Yeah, we can give you that.
Yeah.
We'll give you that.
Yeah.
Just today, actually, mechanics and purchasing agent were meeting with Kevin, project manager, to talk about the situating the windows and how all that's going. So it's getting ready to go.
Do we have a month-to-month lease down the road at the other shop?
On one of them we do, and the
Yeah.
other one we do not.
When does it expire?
I don't think, another year.
I believe.
We're gonna be paying rent there after we've moved out.
Well, this one is still gonna be a way, all we have under contract right now is the shell of the building. So we're
Okay.
still gonna have to go in and either do interior, work ourselves or, let another contract for that work. So we're not gonna be ready to move in. And then there's some other site work that'll need to happen as well. Remember, this was a kind of a phased project to spread some of that cost over time. So
If
we won't be
do-
ready to move in when this contractor is done.
If we do get done early and they move out, but there's still, is there in that lease, is there an option to sublet it?
There is, in fact, that's how we ended up with it, was a sublease from Habitat for Humanity. So we would have the option to seek out a sublessee. We would be the lessor.
Sublessee,
Sublessee. So yeah, I think that the landlord was good at working with us in Habitat. When that opportunity came up, I would expect the same if we were able to find another renter.
Cool.
All right. Board, we're good?
Just a quick
Okay.
update. Thank you, Kevin. The building should be complete by the end of January.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any,
Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, I did notice that we got the right doors out there.
Yep. Yeah, yep.
What's that?
there was a lot of discussion on this. Good.
We forgot about
That was
those,
gonna thank me eventually for that.
we forgot about those ballards, didn't we? No. I'm
Yeah.
We had the ballards.
Okay, any public comment or comments for Damon operations? No public? All right, let's move on
Thanks,
to
Damon.
the general manager's report. Michael.
All right, thank you. We're moving right along. Going for the record, I see on your first meeting presentation.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Tried to teach me to do that.
Not hard beating the last
Protege.
president.
Yeah.
Okay, we're done. Thank you.
Oh, so the Aqua conference was last week, first one in person in quite some time. It was a little bit of a scaled back version. They had limited capacity. But for the most part, it was fantastic to see everybody reconnect with other agencies. Very productive meeting with the Bureau of Reclamation, in addition to some other productive meetings. A lot of discussion about wildfire. It's great to see how prominent a topic that is. And the Headwaters Work Group, it had some. I heard several people say that the Headwaters Roundtable was one of the best discussions at conference. And there was some good stuff that came out of that. We're starting the new term for Aqua officers in January, and already on the Region 3 board having a lot of discussion about our next event, and probably a little premature to talk about it at this point, but I'm really pushing for a Calaveras County hosted event on wildfire, water, and wine. And so I think we've got some really good ideas bouncing around. I think it's going to be a really good event. So
Wait, wildfire and what?
wine.
Water and wine.
Did you not say weed correctly?
Oh, there's a fourth W.
The hell are you thinking?
There's a fourth W in there. What am I thinking? Maybe too much of, no. Anyways, it's been a while since we've hosted one of those events here. And the last one that I recall was at Part E, so it wasn't really a spotlight on CCWD. And so I think it's our turn. So I'm really pushing for that. And so far I have a lot of positive feedback on that. So hopefully sometime.
When was that, you think?
I would say probably late spring. It's going to take some time to pull it together, but we don't want to do it during the peak fire season either. So I would hope for something late spring. The conference, the May conference, they are planning on doing in person, and it will be in Sacramento in May. And if I believe, based on some discussions with Aqua staff, if they have any say over it, it would not be a hybrid meeting again. They seemed completely overwhelmed by that. They did a fantastic job. I thought it all went off very well, but they basically said it was like having to do two conferences at the same time, having to do a virtual hybrid model, virtual and in person. That they were pretty tired. So I think their preference would be one or the other, and hopefully it'll be in person, but they may still do the hybrid model. Small piece of good news, as of December 1st, Utica's Murphy's Powerhouse is finally operating under a remat contract. So they're increased the revenue and got a fixed price for power. And it only took 5 or 6 years to get that contract in place. But it was a piece of good news, and they, in the end, ended up doing a pretty innovative approach, because when the remat program came back, the prices were significantly lower than what they were back in 2017, when the Angels Powerhouse went in, and but the price is higher if you can qualify as baseload power, which hydro typically does not, and they were able to get that. Get the powerhouse in as a baseload resource because of the storage that they have behind it. And that was some initial pushback from PG&E, but a pretty innovative and committed approach from Utica. So kudos to them for pulling that off. So that's the good news on the Highway 4 side. I would put this in the bad news category, that Melissa Eads has resigned as the city manager of Angels Camp, which I've as I said, I found as bad news because I thought she's fantastic. I think she's super sharp. But wish her well in whatever her next step is. And they just have temporarily appointed one of their attorneys as a interim city manager until they find a replacement. On arrearage funding, tons of credit to Jessica and Jesse and Patty and Corinne and our new accountant, other staff that have been involved in this effort. The arrearage funding is proving to be very difficult to, oh wow, look at that special guest. It's been really challenging to in the defense of the water board, they had to prop up a program to disperse $965 million within a couple of months, and something that they had never done before. So it was a huge lift on their end. It's still very difficult on our end to administer. And so a lot of credit to our finance and customer service staff for finding a way to make it work. We think we have found a way to make it work, but we got the application in by the deadline on Monday. So we should, in the near future, be receiving, I think we're somewhere around somewhere between $150,000 and $200,000 that we will be able to funnel as credits, bill credits to our customers for that arrearage time period. The accounting side of that is still going to be very challenging to implement. So it's still going to be a heavy lift on our end. But again, credit to the finance staff and just our, the commitment to finding a way to make it work so we get that help to our customers.
Would that be something worth an agenda item to discuss in detail, or are we good?
Yeah, we can bring that back. I think, well, we don't have another board meeting at least scheduled until January anyways. So I think right now we're going to receive the money and then start crediting those customer accounts based on what we applied for each of the customers that qualified. And then there's going to be some bumps in the road on the accounting side as we work through that. But I think we can absolutely agendize a report back to the board on that.
Do we need it?
Yeah, that would be interesting. Are the parameters pretty tough for the?
No, actually, the parameters for the program were actually not tough. It was if you had a past due balance from sometime between March of 2020 and June 15th of 2021. It didn't matter why. It didn't matter whether you're low income. It didn't matter whether it was tied to COVID or not. You just had a past due balance during that time frame. You qualified.
Was there a minimum amount per?
No minimum, no maximum.
Oh.
And so it wasn't necessarily the criteria, the eligibility criteria that was the problem. The problem is just on the accounting software side. Part of the issue is we sent that money under the teeter plan to the county tax roll for reimbursement. Normally, we wipe that debt off of our customers' accounts. When we do that this time around, we didn't, because we need to be able to show the water board that we're crediting those accounts with this arrearage funding. We've had customers make payments since then, and so we have this snapshot in time. Our system doesn't track whether they paid the balance from that.
Does that money still go back to them then? So they have a negative
We're gonna get
balance?
it all to the customers to the extent we can. There may be some we have to send back to the water board.
Okay.
But we're gonna, if the past due balance is still there, we'll credit the amount to their account. They're still gonna have to pay that amount on the tax roll. But we'll be crediting the equivalent amount to the customer account. So I don't want to get too far into the weeds of it, because there's a lot more than that. And it gets
No,
very-
I think we probably should
Bring
have
it back.
Yeah, it gets complicated very quickly. That's why I'm trying to give staff a huge kudos, because of
I'm
the
with
work it
President
took to
Cicada.
get
I'd
through
like to
it.
hear more about that as it happens.
Okay,
Just to-
we'll report back. On the meters, the contractor is almost done with the pass. I think less than 1,000 meters left out of the 6,500 that are on the pass. And most of the ones at the higher elevation are done. So shifting from there to West Point and Copper, it takes a tremendous amount of coordination between operations and finance and customer service to continue to do billing and have that happening at the same time. So, Damon pulled together a meeting yesterday because we were having issues with some of that coordination, and pulled all the right people together, and Jessica and Damon and the rest of the team were able to resolve those issues and make sure that we're able to still bill customers and as we implement the meter replacement. But it's a logistical challenge, I think is probably the easy way to put it. And the Tyler implementation is still moving along as well, still experiencing a very high call volume due to the new customer accounts that have to be created in order to reestablish auto pay for each of the customers. The person we didn't introduce today is we got a temp employee through a grant from Motherlode Job Training, so no cost to the district. And he started almost 2 weeks ago now. And he's been great. He's been able to step right in and help with addressing that call volume. So that effort is moving along. We actually are, and I think you probably heard Rebecca say over and over again that our one of the reasons for transitioning to Tyler Finance software was the condition of the server that our Springbrook Finance software is running on. You guys leaving? Sorry that was so boring.
Wait a minute.
Hold on, can we just introduce you really quick? To anyone that doesn't know, that's my wife Nancy and my son Elliot.
Was
Thank-
Elliot?
See you.
Is Elliot? There's an opening on that underground crew. Is he gonna?
Yes, actually. You ready to get to work, buddy? Are you ready? You wanna work for the water company?
Good answer.
Chip off the old block right there.
This is the boring part. There is fun parts to it. You guys should go check out the construction next door. He'll appreciate that side. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for that.
Now you can quit showing off and you about.
Yes.
Yeah. Man, if that's me showing off, I'm in trouble. Anyways, the Springbrook server, the Tyler Finance module implementation is still going to take at least 6 months, possibly 12 months. And that server we can't rely on it for that period of time. So we actually are going to do a minor Springbrook upgrade, I guess is one way to put it. We don't have to upgrade to their newest software, but we do have to go to a newer version of the old software. We're on version 7. They're up to version 12.
What's the cost?
we're just upgrading within version 7. So we don't have to train staff. We don't have to do anything different than what we've done before, but we have to get our version of Springbrook Finance off of that server, or we risk a potentially much greater cost. If that server fails right now, we have no way to transfer that data off of that server. So we would have to, Brandon would have to, and he's already trying to, locate these parts, but he's essentially on like eBay trying to find the hardware so that he could transition this software. And he tried everything else. There's no way to get that software to function on any other server. So the other piece of it is if we weren't doing this, the archival data that we would have access to even after we make the transition would be very limited. And this will allow us to have access in a much more user-friendly way to a much greater cache of archival data. So it's probably something that we should do anyways, but we just can't rely on that server for that long of a period of time. So that'll be done by February. Cost is gonna be somewhere between $15,000 to $20,000, but
And that's equipment, you said, to put the software.
it's actually mostly, the very low equipment cost. We had already purchased a new server that has the capability to accommodate it. So most of it is just the cost for Springbrook to do the migration, but most of it's going to happen, very little involvement of our staff, and then staff won't have to train. The interface will still look the same.
I thought we were gonna avoid all that. That's why we went to Tyler.
We're avoiding most of it. The cost of going to the actual new Springbrook would be significantly higher.
But why would we do that when we have Tyler is what I'm kind of saying.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's the only option, we can't not do it, I suppose.
The risk of not doing it was too great. So, and I think the cost is not something we anticipated, but, just the cost of having to try to replace that system if that server were to fail over the next 6 to 12 months, whenever it is that we get Tyler online, is that's a daunting. I'm not sure that it would actually even work. So that puts us in a really vulnerable position. So that's the catastrophic scenario that it helps us to avoid, but it also provides that additional ability to retrieve older data that we otherwise wouldn't have had. So there's reasons to do it anyways. So in addition to the 10th that we have already on board, we've interviewed already candidates for the 1-year limited term position in customer service. And we've solicited, the job posting is out for the customer service supervisor position. We promoted from within. So some of you, I'm sure, know Ryan Sullivan, who's been with the district for 15, 17 years. And he was promoted, he was selected to run that new underground crew. So he's already in that position, and the solicitation is out for the next most senior position on that crew. And so we'll continue to fill those positions and then backfill. So all of that is underway. We are working we'll probably come back to the board, I would say the second meeting in January with redistricting options. So we have been putting some work on that front, and we'll have, I think, probably 2 different options for the board to review at that point. But we can adjust it based on the direction from the board. We had talked a little bit about the slurry line visit, so I'll skip that. Other piece of news we got just today, the water rights curtailment order had been lifted for November, after we got that atmospheric river. It was put back in place and then lifted again in anticipation of the storm we have coming up next week. So we currently have no curtailments in effect. But that's gone back and forth, which is, that's actually a positive thing for us. One of the things we were concerned about with the water board granting themselves the emergency authority to curtail those water rights was the water rights remaining curtailed when there was water in the system that we could otherwise divert to storage. They assured us that they would be responsive in lifting the curtailments or granting waivers. And it has proven to be the case. We've been able to divert to storage when these storms hit. So it's actually a good thing. It's a little bit of whiplash, but it's a good thing that they're lifting those curtailments in time for us to divert to storage. Lastly, I have to mention the laser light show, which I was not there, but apparently went off very successfully. There was a very high scale production company brought into White Pines Lake. Tim and Lisa Munides were the champions of the whole effort. Apparently the sheriff's office estimated how many? 6,000 people attended. And I just saw some cell phone footage that looked very bright and loud. That's how I would describe it. But
It was, the 1,000 people was like a Sunday afternoon at White Pines Park, but at nighttime, because they were very calm and
You say 1,000, were they 6,000 or 6,000?
6,000. Oh, okay, because I heard 1,000 to begin with. Okay, 6,000.
Wow.
which is a lot for White
What was the event for?
It was a light
Just,
show.
yeah, they did raise some money. They raised some money for White Pines Park Committee. So that's great. Anything that we can do to support White Pines Park Committee is good. And so it was just a community party, I guess. I was not able to go, but
Yeah,
apparently
for
they're
the-
planning on doing it again next year. And there was a bit of a back and forth between us and the county as far as the approval process went for the couple of months leading up to it. But hopefully we'll have that kind of ironed out next time around.
And for the amount of people that were there, the traffic was not an issue at all. I mean, everybody was smooth and
All right.
great out, great.
That's all. That's it.
Any questions?
Michael, one of the things that I enjoyed most about the Aqua Conference was meeting and interacting a little bit with Larry McKinney. Can you tell the board a little bit about Larry's background?
Yeah, so Larry is the general manager at Amador Water Agency, coming up on a year now, probably. He started off as a JAG officer in the Marine Corps. This is his legal background, and was at Camp Pendleton working on water resource issues. And then when he left the Marine Corps, continued to work on those same water resource issues, and then ended up, he's been an elected official at different water agencies. He's been an employee at multiple water agencies. I don't recall exactly the whole background, but most recently, before he was here, he was on the Metropolitan Water District Board, and actually there was some overlap where even after he was the GM here, he was still on the Met board, which I was joking about being, just another typical AWA GM on the Met board. It's kind of head spinning to think about, but just a long distinguished career in water, a lot of experience with advocacy on the policy front. He's a very sharp guy. He's been a good, we haven't had to collaborate on anything terribly difficult yet, but we are in regular contact, and I think a good partner. He's been at the camera meetings. He's been at UMRA. So I think brings a skill set and a perspective that is great to have up here. And
he was-
received Aqua's Emissary Award, which is a very prestigious award at this conference.
Very nice. Any comments online from anybody? Okay, we'll move on to board reports, information, and future agenda items. And Director Thomas, we'll start with you.
Damon, is there any truth to the rumor that Skunk Ranch Road is going to be changed to Skunk Weed Road? Could be. Okay. Yeah,
Probably not the best marketing plan.
it's going to be put forth by some of the neighbors, maybe. But, Director Cicada and I took an opportunity to visit with staff, field staff out and with Michael at the convergence of the water supply line where it meets into the slurry line, which was a very interesting field trip. Very appreciate the opportunity to go out and view that.
Yes.
Looking forward to selling some of that water, hopefully.
The other piece of that, if you don't mind, Director Thomas, real quick, is, and we've talked about this briefly, but and I think I might have mentioned it at the last board meeting, but the Mojave Water Agency is sponsoring legislation to increase penalties for illegal cannabis growers, which is something I think we would support. I don't want to speak for the board. I won't get ahead of you on that. I'd bring it to the board before we do anything, but I'm going to reach out to them. They gave a really good presentation at the last state legislative committee meeting about the proposal they're putting forward and the rationale behind it. And so I'm going to reach out to them and see if, if we could, if they want other agencies to get on board with that effort. I think it's something I would bring back to this board.
Would that be illegal use of our water by the cannabis growers? Is that what you said?
It stiffens penalties. It actually creates liability for water haulers. So they have to verify that they're not delivering to an illegal grow. It increases the penalties for water theft or, the violation of whatever the grow regulations are, which currently, I was shocked in their presentation how minimal those penalties are. It's a misdemeanor. It could be just a $500 citation. And in one case, they talked about a huge grow operation that was illegal, and they gave them a $500 citation and left and didn't even confiscate the
Would there be a reason why it seems like it's focusing just on cannabis and not, for instance, wine growers or wine grape growers or anything, or is it?
They're not growing much wine in the Mojave Desert.
But I'm
But no, that is
We're
it.
gonna look about potentially upping our fines or whatever. Why would it be limited to just cannabis grows and not somebody else that uses our water? It seems like it might be unfairly.
So water theft is a little bit of a different issue, and we actually just did
Oh.
increase our administrative penalty for that. But this is more focused on creating liability for water haulers and increasing penalties for illegal grows. Because the farmer that we visited, 100% open book. He said the water board's been here, the sheriff's been here. Come and, look under every crack and take pictures if you want. He had absolutely nothing to hide. He was totally transparent about its operation. And I think, if the state's going in that direction of trying to create a legitimate market, that's the kind of farmer you want, to be able to be successful, not the ones that are stealing water and growing illegally and using harmful environmental products. So, I think it's stiffening those penalties for the illegal grows helps support the legitimate farmer.
In the breakout session that I went to regarding that same subject is Mojave's in a much different position than we are. There's not much water there and it's being taken. And it is affecting them a whole lot more than it would us or in many other places.
I'm not
in the state.
opposed to it. I was just wondering why we're just looking at them. All right, thank you, Alden.
Well, heck no, he just interrupted me right like.
Don't know what I'm thinking.
You have 1 minute.
You're not president anymore. Just
It's very clear.
calm down. In this Aqua News publication we got with our packet, I couldn't help but, focus on the state withdraws from part of the voluntary agreement talks. And I've always viewed this voluntary agreement thing as being really an oxymoron, because if you don't agree with what the state says, then it's
They're gonna decide.
they're gonna they pull out of the voluntary agreement unilaterally, and that's, I don't know, it's just wrong. But
Well, it was partly in response to the pushback they were getting from the water agencies, unwilling to agree to what they were proposing. So to that extent, it was voluntary, because we're telling them we're not happy with those terms. And so that focused on the state pulling back, but that was in response to the water agencies saying they weren't going to agree to the terms that the state was proposing. So at this point, I think most of the water agencies have reached a conclusion that they would rather take their chances with the water board itself, and debating the supplemental environmental document for the water quality control plan, then agree to the voluntary agreements. So that's kind of where that ended up.
Well, doesn't it always come back to the releases for fish flows and, you know, that's, to me, that's.
So the unimpaired flows, that's the Bay Delta Water Quality Control Plan. That's what the unimpaired flow would be. That's how that would be implemented. And so that plan has to go to the water board for approval, and the water agencies are obviously going to have something to say about that plan. And so taking chances, rather than agreeing to a voluntary agreement framework that you weren't happy with, it also was going to cost you money, by the way, in addition to flow. The alternative is take our chances in front of the board and make our case for a more reasonable flow regime.
Okay, is Matt reading up on the law so you can?
You were negotiating, you guys were negotiating before.
Yeah, I mean, negotiating, is probably a generous word for what that process was, but sure.
Okay.
We were talking.
The other thing, Michael, I wanted to remind you that some time ago, we had some fairly significant discussion about ordinance number 2015-02,
Yes.
the director compensation travel reimbursement policy.
We have not forgotten about that. It's just with some of the transition we've had lately, we didn't have it ready in time for this board meeting, but I would anticipate seeing that in front of the board in January.
Okay.
What are we proposing to do on that? I know we did talk about it, but.
You guys get the agendas, it says we'll discuss.
And then
Well, no, we're not going to discuss
Future
it.
discussion,
Yeah.
future agenda items, is what we're discussing.
Yes.
It's an amendment to the
Put it
board.
on future
compensation.
agenda.
Okay, here we go. Is that it?
I was just asking when it's going to come back on. That's all.
I'm making a list of the talking about.
Okay.
Agenda item. Anything else?
I will tell you, I never had to use that all last year, not one.
Well, I'm not. Yesterday.
He had his voice. He didn't need a gavel. He had his
That's why
voice.
those meetings dragged on for so long.
You just grab.
I like it. I'm not saying that.
Director Davis,
I have nothing to comment.
Director Ratteran.
Just a couple items on last week's Aqua JPIA conference. It was like having two conferences, and 2 or 3 of the breakout sessions I went to. It was 4 or 5 techs in the room, trying to work on the sound, trying to get people able to talk who were presenting that were online. It was quite a problem. And actually it was in 2 different meetings where the online was part of the production, part of the program. And they had to make a little presentation and weren't able to, and it delayed 5, 10, 15 minutes on a couple times. But I do, Michael and Director Thomas have kind of covered the aqua part of it. The JPIA meeting was on Monday, and topics cybersecurity, and then just safety. They're really hammering on that cybersecurity, which I brought back. I think 2 years ago when we went last year, there wasn't an in-person conference, but that was and I know that we're working on that. I know we've had a reported out on what we're doing, and it came up again when we had the problem with that check and the link to another way of making a payment. But the other thing, and I did talk to Damon before the meeting today, is 3 kind of basic things that one of the risk managers from JPIA talked about, and it was safety reflective striping on the back of all vehicles, just as a matter of practice, just putting in, it showed red and gold striping. Number 2 is cones, all trucks using cones. And I think that Damon did indicate that we are doing that. And then the third thing was, cords, any hoses, cords, they should be on reels hanging from the ceiling. Retractable, and no extension cords on the ground should ever be, but those are just 3 just basic things that I was just telling Damon, I'm surprised they don't just put those in a bulletin and send it to all their insureds, everyone that they insure, and just say, hey, these are things that we should do, good practices. But I think that we are looking into those. And the other thing that I noticed was safety awards. The people who got awards, and there's always 10, 20, 25 awards for districts that come up with they make something. They make a little gadget that makes it safer to do the job. And Damon has reported better ones than they had there that we did here. And I want to encourage you to, even if they've done last year or 2 years ago, with things that you've brought here that our guys have done.
Submit them.
We
need
did
to
one a
just
couple years ago.
Take a couple, you're gonna win, I mean, we're gonna win some money. These guys are gonna
Yeah.
win money. It's just, and you've already done it. You already got the pictures, you already told the story. It's just a matter of sending it in to them for that safety award.
I think it was 2 years ago we got one for a couple of our guys. I would not recommend putting that hose clamp on the radiator hose.
That wouldn't be one, but there's a lot of good
You're
good
right.
things
We
that
should
are-
be on the lookout for that stuff. Our staff are coming up with stuff like that.
No, we got talent, and they
Yeah.
thought, a good thought process had gone through, and other people can use them. That's what they're there for. Is that these ideas that we've come up with here and how to do stuff, how to rig something and make something, can be used by everybody in the state. And we should be sharing. And we could be winning awards. That's all I got.
Okay, Director Underhill.
Okay, well, it's pretty quiet up the hill. I did have a question of, I think Ebbets Pass is going to lose its title to Copperopolis for the number of customers. Has there been?
It's not close, don't worry. You're still ahead by double, probably.
Yeah, but it may become your new district though, so just keep.
That it?
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, as I say, we're quite up the hill, waiting for that 4-letter word, and we'll be waiting for a long time, I guess.
No, it's coming Monday.
Oh.
Next week should be pretty good.
Degrees up there on.
Oh, wow.
There's a good
Okay.
storm in the forecast for next week.
Okay, and I
I'm
did,
trying.
I didn't attend the conference because I was saving my money because I'll be going to, where am I going? In
Sacramento.
Sacramento. Oh, boy.
What's in Sacramento?
The next meeting.
The
Oh,
next
the
one.
Aqua meeting.
The spring conference.
Okay.
I know we want to move on. One last thing, though, we do have to mention, the president and vice president of Aqua were elected. Pam Tobin is the new president, Kathy Green is the new vice president. And I didn't realize until I just found out today, it's the first time in the 111-year history of Aqua that there's been an all-female leadership. President.
They sure talked it up in the Women in Water meeting,
Good for,
that I went to. They were celebrating big time.
good for Pam and Kathy.
And how's our old GM?
June Lopez was.
Oh, no, not
Okay, here we go.
cheering them on.
June hasn't changed one bit.
I meant Dave.
Dave was great. Dave was doing great.
Okay.
Did
Is
you
that
go
it?
to
That's
the
done?
water thing?
Yeah.
You did?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's my turn.
Wow.
Okay.
Is anybody want to listen to me? No.
Yes.
I attended
President.
a webinar Tuesday, I think it was, on, I guess, learning how to be a chairperson,
Really?
Yes, and I came away with a couple of things, and I spoke to Michael about it briefly, wondering, they had said that every board should have a board meeting policy manual, like how you want to run your board meetings, and did we have one? And one of them could be, like, as I'm watching Jeff listen to everybody talk and he's antsy, we could, in this policy, we could say something like, okay, board members, you only get 3 minutes to talk, or, you know what I'm saying? And they said it was really a good idea to have that. If that's something we want to consider at some other time, just let us know. And then, so for future items, Michael, I'm looking at a potential, a legal update regarding, mask requirements, remote meetings, and COVID stuff
Yeah.
as an agenda item.
Also, I spoke with Michael about that earlier today. I'm not sure what rules
Yeah.
we're supposedly under, but it's clear that the board is not.
Does want to wear a mask.
The board's preference is
Yeah.
clear and.
I think
So let
that- I
an
just think
agendize
staff should
that.
be able to make it their own decision unless we're under some for real legal obligation.
Why don't we agendize that and we'll come up with what the policy should be based on if there's any mandates in our preferences.
I support that.
And then we'll bring back the director reimbursement policy. And are we going to have a financial committee meeting this month?
Yes.
And then are we going to redo some of these committee appointments?
Yeah, you asked,
So I'll do that offline with
We'll
your
be in
help.
touch, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
you ask us or we submit to you what we'd like.
Yeah, if everybody would do that, I
Oh,
think you
Rebecca.
guys will
Yeah,
get
we
that
can help
going for
coordinate
me,
that,
then
absolutely.
put me on that. Okay, the next board meetings will be Wednesday, December 22nd, and that's still a go?
No, Ken.
At this point, no, we're not planning
Oh, I
on
just.
the second
read
meeting
that
in
last word
December.
there, sorry.
If we
My
need
book
to-
was covering it up.
If we need to
Okay.
do a special meeting like we did last month, we'll let you know.
Give
At
us a
this
call.
point, I don't anticipate.
But we will have a finance committee the same third Tuesday.
Yes.
That's you and I. I've been to the last couple of months. You
Did
were
that,
there.
did that meeting change? I don't think that meeting changed.
Well, just keep us
As far as time.
posted.
What's the date?
It would be,
With 31 days in this month, we are going to have a special meeting to reauthorize on offline meetings.
it'd be the 21st.
No, we just did it.
We're doing that. in this-
Oh,
And then
okay.
we'll do it again
On
at
the
the next
12th.
meeting.
Oh, okay, okay.
And then the other regular meeting will be January 12th, 2022. So we will go to item number 9, closed session. Conference with real property negotiators, government code 54956.8, property, APN 055-051-008, Copperopolis, agency negotiators, Michael Minkler, negotiating parties, CV developers under negotiation, price or terms of payment. And second closed session item, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation.
Before we leave, Cindy, we got one thing. With today's date being December 8th and our next meeting, January 12th, that's more than 31 days.
Yeah, but I think as long as we're not having a meeting during that time period, we're okay. And
No,
we
no,
can
no.
adopt
We-
it at the next.
For what?
We just talked, I did, it was in a conference at Aqua, two attorneys, with that was brought up. Actually, you had just stepped out of that
Every
meeting.
30 days.
We do have to do some, if 31 days go by,
Colin,
yeah, it's the item on our consent agenda. This,
but it does
or-
say covers through January 12th.
you got to do it
Is that
every 30 days. It's whatever it says here, that's not the law. AB 361 says you got to do it every 30 days. And there are, yes, there are several districts that are
But-
doing,
Yeah,
several districts talked about having to do that. And the attorneys that spoke up in the room says, yes, that is something you have to do right now.
but the date they referenced on here was December 14th through the January 12th.
That's our staff writing notes in here. It was authorized on,
What do we need to do about
here it is
that?
on
So
December
if
8th.
we don't have, okay, go ahead.
So I was just gonna say that I think you're correct that you have to do it every 30 days, but if everybody's gonna be here on the 12th and nobody's gonna be remote
Right.
as far as the board, we'll just re-up it on the 12th.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we should be fine.
Okay, so do I ask for public comment before going into closed
Yes.
session? Any public comment? Rebecca, anybody online? All right, let's adjourn to closed session.
It's not over here.
And the time is 1:20, or excuse me, 2:20.
We take a short break?
Yes, let's take a short break.
I would allow that.